So this is just a quick note for people that are worried about all this climate change nonsense. I had a bunch of people yelling at me on social media about it because I posted this picture of Greta Thunberg saying "eat the bugs." Now, just to frame it up for you, who is Greta Thunberg? Who is she? Okay, so she's a 16 or 17-year-old girl with learning disabilities, eating disorders, and an absentee mother who's famous, comes from a wealthy family, and her grandfather was involved in the initial climate catastrophe concepts going back quite a few years into the 70s or more. Okay, so right off the bat, why would you take any information from this person? Second of all, how the heck did she get to talk at the UN or Davos or whatever? Can you go and talk to these people? I don't know how to get in there. She's on the yacht. What's it cost for these yachts? What do they call those people? Boat people. The boat people. Sailors. So you got $1 million yacht. You got which means you got a bunch of high-priced frou-frou sailing guys. And so all that money and all that, right? Just think about it. Use your brain. Second of all, I got these people screaming at me about my comments and so forth. How many of you people have gone just to the IPCC website or to NOAA or any of these and read the papers? Read the papers that they put up there. For instance, are you aware that in the abstract to some of these papers, which I have read, they state up front that because the sun doesn't change in any way, they literally say this, that the sun's output is so regular and so standardized that it's irrelevant to the calculations, that they're not going to include solar output in their calculations. Think about that. Just think about that. Does that sound right to you? Does it? And then they don't support it, right? So they don't support it. Well, what does it tell you when somebody makes an incredible claim, such as all dogs go to heaven, and then they just go on with it? And what does it mean? Maybe no dogs go to heaven. I don't know, but they just drop it and then they just keep walking, and it's like you're left there with it, right? You gotta stop and ask questions. Is the point? Like you can't let people drop an idea and then assume that it is correct because they assume that it's correct. This is actually a good. We'll just make this the point of this particular section of the video, like that the way that engineering works, social engineering, right? And why am I talking about social engineering all of a sudden? Well, I'm not suddenly talking about it. The climate catastrophe is a form of social engineering, and that's all there is to it. You can go and you can verify this. This is not difficult to verify. Because if you go back into the 70s, they were waiting for the Ice Age. And factually speaking, I think that there's a good argument that we are just still recovering from an ice age, because we're not in the warmest periods, and there was an ice age, and we're, still coming out of one, and it may even be going back into one, because ice ages are periodic as far as, what do they dig those holes and they look at everything. They have core samples. So it's got to do with social engineering and the tactics of social engineering. So people, like every 90-pound girl, these days, she's 90 pounds soaking wet kind of thing. And they're engineering people into being what? Like they're all She-Ra, or, well, that's old for a lot of you people now, or Xena, the warrior princess, or, like they're all supposed to be these heroes, like in all these movies now, Marvel and DC Comics. Like they're all these like super warriors, but it sounds like nonsense, but right. But this is actually impacting consciousness, and the weather thing is just another brand of this, right? So, they got everybody all torqued out, worried about CO2, right? But how many people do any diligence on the statement? Because they drop it as if it's just a fact. And the fact that they can put it out on every channel, well, okay, great. But how many people own all those channels, right? So, all the channels in the United States owned by 6 people. Okay, so they can broadcast pretty. These guys can just make a phone call and they can broadcast you whatever you want. This is how wars are sold. Okay. So, in any case, regarding just this particular topic, Greta Thunberg, the social media, blah blah blah. It has nothing to do with facts, and it has nothing to do with reality. You're just in a sort of you're the target. I mean, that's all it is. We're the target. And the reason that if you haven't gotten past that, if you still think there's a climate crisis that's human generated, right? Now, whether there's a climate situation, well, that's a different question. Yes, there is. But we'll get to that in a different video. Human generated? No. It's not human generated. We're not affecting the climate. But the reason that that's valuable, think about it, right? It's valuable. It's very valuable if you can convince people of this. Like, look at all the legislation has become weaponized like everything else. If they have you thinking that there's human affected weather catastrophe, then it's easier to convince more people to take on things like austerity and fuel reductions, energy reductions, and lifestyle changes and all this stuff. So you're caught in this social engineering nonsense, or it's a weapon. So the sooner you learn that, the sooner we can get out of it. Everything in modern society is weaponized. That's just the way it is. And this is the cognitive dissonance. That people don't want to believe that anybody is so evil that they would lie to you about such basic things in order to achieve some goal or other. And the exact opposite is true. The facts of human history are that cadres of people consistently organize information and narratives in order to achieve nefarious goals. It's just a fact. And this idea that there are these massive organizations that are looking out for your better interests. This is like, I mean, really? There's people who believe this crap? The medical industry is looking out for you. And the post office is going to save you, and whatever. The ministry or whatever, the Department of Defense is concerned about, human life. No. None of this is just garbage. It's completely silly. That's not what's going on. And so, this is what happened. I mean, these people were screaming at me, telling me I'm mentally ill and all this stuff because I beat up Greta a little bit. Oh, I didn't even do anything to her. Because they really believe it. How dare you? How dare you? Yeah, how dare you? She has no idea what she's doing. I mean, think about it. She's 16. Are you 16? If you're 16 and you're listening to this, if you believe me and you go and look into things, you'll be smarter than her in a couple of days. But it's just madness, because the people who are looking at her and then yelling at me, some of them are over 50 years old. And I just, really? Have we come? Have we gone this far? Oh, man. Anyway, so just understand that if it is in the media and somebody is paying for it to be reported on, for there to be, think tanks. Like, what the heck do you think a think tank does? What do you think? They think about stuff to help you? No. They're thinking about how to achieve policy goals that are given to them by the people who pay for the think tank, right? So there's nothing that comes out of a think tank that's good for you. It never will. It never has. The damn, what are they called? Project for a New American Century, for instance, or Ford Foundation. These people, they don't give a damn about you. And that's the sad thing, right? And that's what you got to get over, is that none of these people care about you. Not only that, it's run by psychopaths. And the people that do care about you are few and far between. And it's hard, but that's a fact. And the Sierra Club doesn't care, and you need to figure out who is on your side. And this is going to come back to hard facts and shared values and shared needs to some degree. I mean, people, if you're living somewhere, the people around you have similar needs to what you have, right? So if you can work that out, that starts to make sense. But all this trying to project everything into a global scope and losing regional interests and going global and thinking there's a climate change situation. All this is just it's all to get you not to deal with your immediate situation. And that's what it comes down to, is who are you? Where are you? What are you doing? Where does your food come from? Where does your water come from? What kind of person are you? And who is your God? All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.